Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for your calls of unity in the cyberspace. I have learned in my 2.5 years in this job that the first C in our long acronym, CCDCOE, the first C stands for cooperation, and it's the most important letter there. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have the distinct pleasure to introduce the second keynote speaker of our this year's CyCon conference. Air Chief Marshal, Sir Stuart serves as the chairman of NATO Military Committee in the NATO headquarters, Brussels, Belgium. He has a long and distinguished military career, starting as the Royal Air Force aviator, serving through the several levels of command, all the way to serving as the Chief of Defense of the United Kingdom prior to assuming the current position. Air Chief Marshal, welcome to CyCon.
Your Excellency, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great pleasure to address you all today. I had the opportunity of visiting the CCDCOE when I visited Estonia in October last year. I was very pleased to learn about the Centre's research, reports, training and exercises. The work, supported by allied and NATO partner nations, is vital in today's changing security landscape. This conference, bringing together so many different groups of people, is also important. We see every day that cyberspace is being leveraged by state and particularly non-state actors to impede, deny, disrupt, distort and manipulate information. Cyber threats and attacks are becoming more frequent, more complex and more destructive. There are no boundaries, there are no borders. Nations around the world have incorporated cyber warfare forces as part of their armed forces. NATO should be no different. Cyberspace and space domains are entwined along with traditional domains of maritime, air and ground. Satellites are vulnerable to attack. Nations find themselves blind in these domains would be in a difficult predicament. GPS, for example, allows for safe navigation in the air, on land, at sea, and also underpins many other parts of our lives. Therefore, multi-layered cyber defense is essential, and it must be continually tested, because those who wish us harm will exploit our weakness. We need networks and systems that endure in a degraded environment, and we need to execute command and control when we need to. Degraded environments cannot always be due to conditions we can control, such as weather and other elements, but we can concern ourselves with GPS jamming, which is deliberate activity to contest the safe use of our systems. And NATO's adversaries are investing heavily in cyber technology, with little regard for international law or human rights and our values. Somewhere there is a hacking attempt every 30 seconds, and some of the best hackers stem from those who wish us harm. There are many different types of cyber attacks, ranging from phishing to distributed denial of service, and now increasingly we see the wicked crime of ransomware. More and more sophisticated every day. And we, as an alliance, do not need to just defend, but we also need to deter and to protect ourselves in the cyber area. Protect our servers, our satellites, our telecommunications, our IT infrastructure, the communications of our soldiers, sailors and airmen. So it's about prevention, detection, and providing timely response. NATO is responding and adapting to the cyber threat in a number of different ways. And we recognize that all allies stand to benefit from a predictable and secure cyberspace. International law is another area that needs to apply to cyberspace. At the Warsaw Summit in 2016, allied heads of state and government agreed on a clear strategic vision. NATO must be able to defend itself in cyberspace as effectively as it does on land, in the air and at sea. Ever since, we've integrated cyberspace considerations into all aspects of our planning. We've established a cyber operations centre at Mons in Belgium as part of our adapted command structure. This centre also coordinates our operational activity to ensure our freedom of action whilst making our own operations more resilient and protected from cyber attacks. In 2016, heads of state and government also agreed on the creation of the Cyber Defence Pledge, committing nations and allies to enhance the cyber defences of their own national infrastructure and networks, committing to the fullest range of capabilities. In addition to support NATO, several allies have agreed to provide their sovereign cyber effects into our alliance operations and missions. Within NATO, certainly in our headquarters and command structure, we should focus on defending our own networks and ensuring we have broad resilience across the alliance. Therefore, we need to integrate cyber defence in all we do, from the strategic, the operational, and the tactical. We need to understand the threat landscape, and we need to share information on that threat landscape and the assessments. 2 years ago, we approved, for the first time in 50 years, a NATO military strategy to give our allies and partners a common understanding of our goals, our approaches, and resource requirements. This is a fundamental shift in outlook from capacity-based assessments to threat-based assessments. This is very important, and it serves as a guide to commanders on what we need to achieve to maintain our security and the resources that we need. And we build on this military strategy and have delivered two concepts. The concept for the deterrence and defence of the Euro-Atlantic region, which brings together all of our military planning as we face a more unpredictable world and deal with the consequences of a changed security environment. And secondly, and importantly for the future, NATO's warfighting capstone concept, looking out 20 years. This shapes our warfare development trajectory and informs the integrated and efficient development of our military instrument of power. All of this work is necessary and essential to keep us strong militarily, ensure our capabilities, including cyber, remain fit for purpose. Our annual Cyber Coalition exercise sees teams solving simulated cyber incidents to enhance their understanding through better shared information. And the Cyber Defence Centre of Excellence therefore plays an important role, organising exercises like Lock Shields, which brings together civilian and military experts from allied and partner nations, in, I would argue, one of the most complex technical live challenges in the world. The Centre also contributes to training by delivering internationally recognised courses, developing reference documents to set standards. In addition, we have the Coalition Warrior Interoperability Exercise, CWIX, another live exercise into which all allies and partners practice sharing tactics, techniques and procedures to improve the detection of cyber incidents and a timely response. This exercise improves interoperability for nations across 10 time zones. Therefore, preparing for our future, the Secretary-General has now launched NATO 2030 as an initiative. This is an ambitious agenda for transatlantic security. At its core, it has three objectives. To keep us strong as a military alliance in a challenging security environment, we need to continue to invest in deterrence and defence, not only in platforms, but also in cyber and other new capabilities. Second, we need to make NATO a stronger political alliance. And even if we have differences at times, NATO is the only place where North America and Europe meet every day with authority to make decisions. And we therefore need to solve our differences, but remember what unites us. And third, and finally, NATO needs to be a more global alliance. That does not necessarily mean we take allies into the alliance from all over the world. We remain at heart a regional alliance, but we will adopt a global approach, because the challenges we face, such as cyber, are themselves global. And it's hard to imagine any military conflict, now or in the future, without a cyber dimension. In addition, and worryingly, we see foreign investment into many allies' digital and telecommunications industries. While noting one of the defining features of cyberspace is interconnectedness to ensure freedom of action and our own access, we also need to make sure that does not become a vulnerability. Therefore, we need to screen foreign investments in key infrastructure and protect key intellectual and technology companies. Before the 2019 pandemic began, we already in NATO focused on resilience. This is more than just looking after infrastructure. This is about networks, including 5G, to ensure our infrastructure is safe, secure, and trusted. So therefore, we need to train, research, and exercise. And in NATO, our cyber rapid response teams are on standby to assist allies 24 hours a day if requested, and we will then respond to meet allied need. Since the pandemic began, we've seen the benefits of technology, but we've also seen the increased risk in the cyber domain. As we move towards more automation and increased online education, online medical care, online working, online banking, the cyber risks accumulate. The North Atlantic Council issued a statement in June 2020 deploring the malicious and destabilizing cyber activities that increased, including against medical facilities during the pandemic. Hospitals, healthcare workers, research institutes, battling the coronavirus, protecting citizens under very difficult circumstances, were themselves attacked by cyber attacks. So cyberspace and the advent of new technology means that the use of information warfare is everyday occurrence. We monitor disinformation and propaganda as state and non-state actors try to sow division, undermine our democracies and our ability to act. We must counter false narratives with facts, with our values and with concrete actions. This is a global problem and it affects everybody here at this conference. We have a role to play in ensuring that what we promote and share via social media platforms is accurate and is based on facts. With the increase in threats and attacks, cyber defense is no longer solely a national matter, no longer solely a military matter, or indeed that of a political matter. It's an international concern. Therefore, we need to increase our cooperation and coordination, including with the European Union, to be effective in our pursuit of cyber defense. And of course, the private sector and academia has a key role to play, working with us. And we need to encourage professional development in this field. And this is more than training and education. It is actually working together. And sharing our cyber experience in NATO repays you as allies and partners. Technical innovation and expertise will enable NATO and allied countries to respond to the cyber threat. The days of the military leading development of technology have gone. Now, the private sector and academia and small companies and individuals are leading the way with emerging technology, and we need to work with all of them. And keeping up with this pace of change means increasing events such as this to share best practice, learn lessons, not just talk about policy, and then apply them. Cyberspace is a domain where cooperation is key. Cyber threats and cyber actors who wish us harm respect no boundaries. In fact, you can argue our boundaries become our vulnerabilities. We need to continue to find ways to cooperate, integrate, and work with industry, the private sector, academia, and between governments, because we are stronger together. Thank you.